Hello and welcome. I'm Donna Baker, and for the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to be introducing you to a product that I truly love called Zotero. This product is for managing your research, and I use it literally every day. I've authored two books on the subject. One is Zotero for Genealogy, the other is the Zotero Solution. I'm going to do everything I can in the next 25 minutes to get you up and running that fast. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at what Zotero is. I'll describe the workspace to you. We will look at how to install it, and we'll look at adding records. And at that stage, you'll be ready to do some work in Zotero on your own. While there are a million other things I could teach you and hope to teach you about Zotero in the future, this will get you started. So what is Zotero? I will begin with the definition that the corporation that owns it has assigned to it. A free, easy-to-use tool to help you collect, organize, cite, and share research. I will tell you that for me in graduate school, it was a lifeline. It became my entire file cabinet. It contained everything that I needed to write a dissertation. And in the days since, it has become the holder for all of my genealogical research, historical research. I even keep business records and my own journal in Zotero. I love it that much. It is maintained by the Corporation for Digital Scholarship. It's a project of theirs, an ongoing project because Zotero is never finished. They are continually adding to it. It's a nonprofit organization, and they are committed to keeping this product free. Now, let me say that I do not work for this organization, never have. I get no pay from them. I am doing this purely on my own as a fan. Now, this is what you see when you look at a Zotero workspace. Now, this has got my data in it clearly. Yours will not have anything in it at first. I have about 6,500 records in my Zotero database right now, and it is still remarkably fast, just so you know. That's 10 years worth of growth, and no regrets that I've outgrown the product, because it just isn't easily outgrown. But there are four major panes in the workspace, and I'll tell you what those are in the coming slides. But I want you to know before we move forward that you can adjust these slides, these panes, so that they work well for you. You can make one wider and one narrower, make one disappear, stack one on top of the other. You can also change the fonts, so you are able to arrange it to look like you need it to look at the moment you're doing any particular stage of your research. The first pane we're going to look at is something I call the collections pane. The word collections is what is used by the makers of Zotero to indicate how things are gathered or organized. As you look at this up close, you'll see that it's folders inside of folders, and I will often use the word folders instead of collections, but it's the way you organize things. One of the wonderful things about Zotero, one of the things that takes it way beyond most other products, and certainly way beyond paper, is that you can have one item, but you can put it in as many folders as you want. Let's say you have a document that mentions all the members of a family, and you've got a folder on each member of the family. You can put it in all those folders without duplicating the item. That's especially useful for things like genealogy, or if you're working on psychology or some other things. I am going to show you some of the ways that I organize information just very quickly. There's a lot more detail about them in the books, but this will give you an idea of how you might want to begin to organize your things as you start. One of the things you're looking at here, first of all, you can see the folders inside of folders, the nesting of those, and you can go as deep as you want with folders. But I keep folders as my to-do list in Zotero. So if I have questions that have not yet been answered, they're in there. And if I'm going to someday go to one archive or another, I begin to collect things in a folder for that archive so that when I go, I'm ready to do that research. I also collect information about people and genealogy. So I have surname folders. And as you see in the one here, I also have a folder where I'm collecting information in general about Choctaws. So you can put anything you need here in terms of family and nest people inside of their surname. I also collect information about places because I am interested in the environment in which my ancestors lived. So I might have an interest in road maps of Centerville, Alabama. So I have Alabama inside that Bibb County, inside that Centerville. So places is important to me in my research. Yours might be something else. I also have something called topics because sometimes I'm researching an idea or a concept. For example, when I discovered that one of my ancestors was what they would have called an illegitimate child, a bastard child, they would have called him then, that I wanted to know what that meant to people in that particular place and time. So I began to collect articles about bastardy laws in the South. I collected laws from the actual county that relate to illegitimacy. And so I was being able in doing that to build something that I could have an understanding about. So topics is another way I organize data. This next pane is research list. The research list is what I'm calling it. In all of these cases, there was no label assigned by the corporation that creates this, so I have just attached my own. But in the research list is basically every source you found and any notes you collect on them and any attachments that you want to attach to them. It is your master file cabinet here. And everything you choose in the left in those folders, in the center pane in the research list, it's going to show you everything you've dropped in that folder. Or there is a place you can go to see everything that you've ever collected. I'm blowing it up a little bit here so that you can see how at the top you have headings. And these ways that you can organize information is really up to you. There'll be many other fields that you can choose if there's something else you prefer to see in the headings across, and it's easy to change those back and forth. You can click on a title and it will sort in alphabetical order one way or the other. So a very useful way to look for information. You can keep notes in this section as well, and take notes on a book you're reading or anything else you find, and it becomes searchable also. You can attach so many different kinds of attachments. I didn't even begin to try to find the icons for them all, but this is particularly useful in expanding what Zotero is because it connects your research in here to everything else you might be gathering or creating about a subject. If you're writing an article about something, it can be in here as well. If you are creating a database about something or a spreadsheet about something, you have a way of pointing directly to that attachment and opening it. So in that way, Zotero becomes a master guide to everything that you are collecting in your research. The details pane on the far right, this is where all of your citation information is gathered. Let me blow that up for you as well. This is going to be basically your card catalog, everything that you used to see in the old card catalogs in the library, you're going to be collecting here. But this is what will create your bibliography, will create footnotes. The most important field for how you're going to use this is the one at the top called the item type. The item type could be a map, a book, or something like that, but in this case it's a map. Whatever you choose is going to determine what the elements below will display. All right, so you don't have to mine through 300 possible fields to put the things in that belong to any one type of citation. This is a great thing for you. It will make it so much easier to gather what you need to gather in order to do the proper footnotes later. And this is guided by whatever style you use. I happen to use Chicago Manual of Style. Somewhere nearly 9,000 styles, I think, are available through Zotero, and that grows and changes all the time. Volunteers are building those styles. The one style you're not going to find, those of you who are genealogists, is evidence explained. But in my book, Zotero for Genealogy, I describe how to make use of the Chicago Manual of Style template to begin to get you as close to evidence explained as you can. So this is where you do the citation. There are also these tabs you see at the top. So when you're in that pane, there are other things you can do, but we don't have time to go through them in our 15 minutes. All right, the tags pane here at the bottom, we also won't spend any significant time on, but it basically is subject headings that you can attach to any of your resources so that you can pull things together in a group and handle them in a group. Now we get to the simplest and fastest thing we'll do in today's little class. We're going to install Zotero. You simply go to zotero.org to get started. This is the screen you're going to see when you get to zotero.org. We're going to click on this button, Download. And we're going to, if you're on a PC, click the download button that's over here on the left. If you're on an Apple product, or if you are on Linux, you will scroll down and there are some other options below that. But I'm on a PC, so I'm going to click download. As PCs always do when they're downloading, it puts this item in the bottom corner to show me that it is loading the file. I'm going to click on this little arrow beside it while it's unloading and say open when done. Has about 9 seconds left to go. And now it opens up and it begins to extract the files, the zipped files that it has put on my computer. It does that very quickly. All right, now it asked me here whether I want to allow it to make a change to my device. You may be seeing a blank screen right now. I'm seeing a little message that says, will I let it install? And I'm going to say yes. All right, then it brings up this install wizard, this setup wizard. I am basically going to say to choose the default on everything it tells me. So I start with next. I click next again to choose the standard installation. I am choosing upgrade here. For you, I think you're just going to be choosing finish or next on this button since you will be putting it on your system for the first time. All right, and then it is going to really be remarkably quick in its setup of the system. They keep this software as simple as they can in its design, which is why you can grow very large with your data and not find your system bogging down. A lot of software is beautiful to look at and is resource intensive because it's beautiful. This software has chosen to be simple and plain in order to be the best product it can be. All right, now it is now giving me a finish button and it will launch Zotero when we're done. Here is the screen that you're going to see when Zotero is opened for you. As you can see, it looks different than the one you saw before. Your data is not yet in here. But there is a welcome screen that I want you to be aware of. The minute you put in a new record, this screen will go away forever. So you want to read this and take whatever you can from it before you actually start adding anything to your system. All right, so there are several things, several links to look at. There's a quick start guide. This is something that the corporation that owns Zotero has created. It's very basic. It can give some helpful information. It is not the kind of how-to guide that you can get from either Zotero for genealogy if you're a genealogist, or the Zotero solution if you're some other sort of research scholar. But it might give you enough to get started for a while if you're not ready to buy the books, and it's free. The second thing to look at is installing a Zotero connector. This is very important for making the absolute best tool available to yourself when you're using Zotero, something that I'm going to show you how it works in a few minutes. But right now, I'm not going to show you how to install it. It depends on your browser, so follow the instructions here. And then the last thing to look at is the setting up of syncing. You can have a Zotero account and you can sync your data there. Up to 300 megabytes is free. Very reasonable prices after that if you want to sync more. There are tips in both of the books that teach you how to make the 300 megabytes go a very, very long way. But I also encourage people to think about basically renting the space from the Zotero Corporation so that you can help this nonprofit corporation function. But now we're going to look at how to actually add a record. There are several ways to do just about everything in Zotero, but I'm just going to show you one, the quickest, simplest way to do things so that we can be moving through here quickly. If you're going to add a new item, I always use this button, this green button above the research list. If you click on the little arrow beside it, it's going to show you the most popular item types: book section, document, journal article, newspaper article. If you come down to more, it gives you the entire list of item types. Let's show you what, let's say if you do a book. All right, so what you see over here are the list of items that are of use if you are putting a book into your data. But if you change the item type to film, the fields change. If you change it to email, the fields change. And so we're just going to put in a book so you see how this works. Might as well just put in my own. You can tab through or click through. I put in last name first on an author. There are ways to put in multiple authors and different kinds of contributors. I'm going to go down to the place. Excuse me. And there you go. I have my first item in here, a book. Okay, that's the traditional way of putting data into the system to type it all in, but there is a much quicker way in some cases, in many cases actually. The Zotero connector is what first sold me on this product. I'm going to show you how to do it for a Chrome browser. Your browser might be different and you might have a different look and feel as you do it, but it'll be something similar. Just make sure you followed the instructions to install it on your own browser. And then when you go to a place like Amazon or WorldCat or often your own local library catalog, you'll be able to pull things down into Zotero without having to do the typing. Now, let's look at my other book, the Zotero solution, as it looks in Amazon. If you look up here in this right corner, there is a little icon of a book. If I was on just a regular web page, it would be an icon of a web browser. It changes, the icon changes depending on what type of data it perceives itself to be looking at. Here, it knows it's looking at a book. So when I click on it, it is by the way, your Zotero needs to be open in the background to do it. When I click on this book, it is going to give you a little message that it's sending it to my library in Zotero. And then when I go back into Zotero, There it is. The work's been done for me, and the work's been done a lot better than I would have done it on my own. If you remember how I put in the basic data before, it has pulled in all of the abstract of the description of the book. It has gotten the full date of publication instead of just the year. It's gotten the number of pages, the language, given it a short title. It tells me I got it out of Amazon. So this can save you an incredible amount of time, especially if you already have like a library of books in your house and you want to just be able to put them in here so that you have a catalog of your own holdings. You can do it so quickly this way. Now, it doesn't work on every single screen. Every single screen can be logged as a web page, but some pages like Family Search at this point is not yet ready to be able to take this into itself as a meaningful, data element. But many of the other catalogs around the world can write into Zotero without you having to do any typing. So that is what you need to get started. You can even start being somewhat productive in Zotero with just that much knowledge. There are so many other things you can do, though. The depth and breadth of this project is amazing. I am continually learning new things. If you want to keep up with what I'm learning, because I report on it regularly, you might want to follow either the Facebook page for Zotero for Genealogy or the one for the Zotero solution. Most of the things I post to both. But I am continually discovering new things and discovering new things that Zotero has just created because they're continually improving the product. So check with these Facebook sites to see what you can learn from that. Now, as far as where you go from here, you may want to teach yourself. That's certainly how I learned. It took me 10 years to get this far, and I am continually learning more. I would recommend, of course, that you do what I didn't have the privilege of doing 10 years ago, which is to learn from a book that sets it out, lays it out in a good order, tells you what the ramifications are for the choices you make. If you are interested in genealogy, the Zotero for Genealogy is the one you might want to go for because it has sections that are purely about how I use it for genealogy. The Zotero solution is more of a general book that can be used for any kind of scholarly research, and it doesn't have anything specifically about genealogy. So you can choose which one works for you. Portions of these two books are identical to each other, just about, so you don't feel like you have lost too much of anything if you don't have them both. Although Zotero Solution was written a year later and I had learned a lot more. Many things I had learned were from the questions asked of people who had begun to use the first book. So there are some new things in Zotero Solution. But I think either one of them will get you so much further down the road than experimenting by yourself. So I encourage you to think about getting one of those and keep up with us on Facebook. It is such a great tool, and I hope you will make it just a part of your daily life.